for watching Gearz.
You know, when it comes to building a project car or truck, there's three main areas that most people spend all their time and attention on. The way it looks, the way it performs, and the way it sounds. And out of the three, the exhaust system and the way it sounds continues to be the thing that most people modify first, whether they're working on something classic or brand new. But with all the new regulations and laws and different cars and trucks that keep coming out all the time, how does an exhaust company stay on top of all this and keep putting out cutting-edge products? Let's take a look. Sprawling over several acres of land in Litchfield, Minnesota, the massive Heartthrob facility designs and produces some of the best exhaust systems and components in the industry. And they've been doing it for 40 years now.
I used to be a real hard ass, if I could say that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love it.
But I used to be. I mean, I had to be. I was driven. I was working 7 days a week. I'd work my business auto parts store during the day till 5:30, go home, sleep for an hour, and go back to another place I had rented across town, and I'd manufacture mufflers till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Founded by John Forbes in the mid-70s, Heartthrob has grown from a single tubing vendor that John used in his garage to a state-of-the-art facility that has just added another 50,000 square feet to house the products
Lock that in.
and the engineering that goes on here.
That's my program right here.
At this location here, we're at over 115,000 square feet. We have every conceivable piece of equipment that you can ever dream of having in a plant, and we can do almost anything we want.
Obviously, the company still churns out their legendary glass packs and exhaust systems for mail order companies, as well as their own systems and products under the Heartthrob name to fit all kinds of cars and trucks.
Probably do a couple thousand mufflers in a week. As far as tubing, it's probably scaled back a little bit. We used to bend about a mile of tubing a day. Private labels is a big thing for us. We make a lot of stuff that comes in a plain white box and work with our customers to help them develop a program that they're interested in pursuing.
But they also continue to design and develop new mufflers and systems for the new muscle cars and trucks that are coming out of the factory today.
A lot of it comes from our customers, and I'll give you an example. Dodge Dart. I wasn't sure I really wanted to make an exhaust system for it. I heard from a couple people that said, hey man, you should do something for a Dodge Dart. Why do we want to do it for a 4-cylinder Dodge Dart? And we came up with a kit, and out of a little 4-cylinder, we're picking up about 7 horsepower, which is a pretty reasonable amount out of a 100 horsepower engine. And I can't believe how well it's selling.
As each new vehicle comes out, they're brought in and dynoed. Then, using state-of-the-art computer imaging, an exhaust system and muffler is designed to increase the performance and the sound of the engine. And sometimes, this combination is not too easy to achieve.
Our R&D, usually what we'll do is we'll get a vehicle in and we'll do baseline dyno testing on it. And so we know where it starts, where it comes from. We'll pull the mufflers and the stock exhaust off. We'll flow test the factory mufflers, see how those flow. And then from there, we've got to start testing to see what works.
But eventually, it does happen. And then, and only then, does a new Heartthrob exhaust system hit the market. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's cool, but that's an awful big building for just doing exhaust systems. That's because that's not all they do there. There is a lot of industrial work that goes on in those walls as they make mufflers, tubes, brackets, whatever for the agricultural world, the fire and rescue world, and even the lost world. If it has to do with tubing or mufflers, Heartthrob is probably involved.
A lot of it is word of mouth. We have no salespeople out there in the industrial side of it all. And our fastest growing segment of our market is our industrial. And what's happened is we've done really neat stuff. People will send us a print, can you make this? Or they'll call us up, can you make this? And we'll say, send us a product or send us something we can either reverse engineer or help you design it or send us a print. And from there, we get on the ground floor and we help them develop their product.
Now, like I said before, this year marks the 40th anniversary of when John bought that first tubing vendor and decided to go into business. And in spite of what a lot of people may think, it has not always been an easy road.
I don't think there's very few people that would go through what we had to do to get from a little tiny mom and pop parts store up to this business today.
But when you look at the huge facility that this has grown into and the impact that Heartthrob Exhaust has had on the automotive aftermarket, it's easy to see that all that hard work paid off in the past, and it makes us eager to see where Heartthrob goes in the future.
I think we're going to keep doing more and more industrial. We're making parts for fire trucks now. There's ground equipment for the airports, the big airlines, you name it.
You know, in the world of trucks, every manufacturer has those years where they come out with that special body style that everybody just loves. Chevy did it with the late 60s, early 70s C10s. Ford did it with the late 70s F-150s. Of course, Toyota had all those cool Tundras. And then, of course, Dodge did it with the 94 through 2001 Ram. Now, these trucks aren't that old, so there's still a lot of people driving these things on the highway. The problem is, as cool as they all have one serious problem. Whatever plastic that Dodge used to build the dashes of these trucks must have come from a potato chip manufacturer, because that's about how brittle they are. So if you've got a Dodge of this era, you either have a cracked dash or you've got a dash in the process of cracking. And to make matters worse, no real replacements have been available until now. Let's go take a look. This is the new replacement dash from LMC Truck for the 94 through 2001 Dodge Ram trucks. Now, the first thing that grabs you about this is it's not a cover. This is a complete dash replacement designed to go right in place of your stock dash. Take a look at this. As you can see, it's got the stock indentations, stock ductwork, the stock mounting points, everything that came original on your dash, except for one thing. This is made out of a lot tougher material than that potato chip that came in the truck originally. So this is going to last longer. Also, LMC specializes in all kinds of instrument bezels like this, because these are bad about cracking and fading over time. So if you're going to replace the dash, you might as well do the bezel too. Now, replacing one of these things is a little more involved than just flopping on one of those carpeted covers you get, down at Walmart or whatever. But this is something that anybody can do in an afternoon. We're going to show you how to do it. With the battery unhooked, the first step is to remove the dash bezel, and it just pops loose. This will allow you to get to the dash screws underneath. On the passenger side, you need to pull off the glove box, and if the truck's been sitting, you need to beware of any surprise visitors. Next, remove the panels and brackets that cover the airbag and take out the small screws. Okay, the last thing to come off on the passenger side is the airbag, and it's held on with these 3 bolts, and then there's 2 up underneath. And once those are off, you just disconnect the airbag and the whole assembly will slide right out. Finally, you can remove the dash. Now, you get bonus points if you can keep it to just 50 pieces. All right, at this point, most people think that you just throw the new dash on there and you're done. It's not quite that easy. Matter of fact, if you do it that way, it's never going to fit right, because all of this ductwork, that's got to be connected to the dash from the back side. And the only way to do that properly is to remove this whole dash structure. Now, I know a lot of you are going, oh man, that's too much. Oh, really, it's not that bad. First, we're going to start by disconnecting all the electrical that's connected to the dash. If you have a center console, that'll need to be moved out of the way to free up the bottom of the dash. Next, we'll remove the brace under the steering column. and then unbolt the steering column from the dash and lower it all out of the way. Now, the good news is you don't have to completely remove the dash. All you have to do is pull it back enough to give yourself some room to get a tool back in behind here and make the connection to your ductwork. So now we're going to lay our new dash on here and connect everything to the ducts. Once that's done, it's just a matter of reassembling everything. And this is the perfect time to clean things up and replace or repair any broken or damaged parts. And that's it. A new dash in a Dodge in an afternoon. And as you can see, the fit and finish of this LMC dash is every bit as nice as what came from the factory. Except you're not going to have to worry about that dash turning into this junk in a year or two.
And now, Wiring Tech, brought to you by Painless Performance Products. American made, American proud.
You know, one thing that really makes the car world unique is the huge variety of projects and vehicles that are out there. You got muscle cars, you have hot rods, you have trucks, you got Jeeps, you have sports cars, you have imports. I mean, you got everything. And they all have their unique issues when you go to try to restore or build one. But they also have similarities. For example, I got 3 different vehicles here, Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, and they all have the same problem: bad wiring. Now, the fact that the wiring on most of these cars is over 40 years old is bad enough. But when you add to that years of splicing and adding and removing accessories, you end up with enough spaghetti to start your own restaurant. Take a look. The biggest mistake that people make is that they just replace or repair the wiring as it goes bad with whatever they may have laying around. Pretty soon you got everything the same color, it's going all kinds of different directions, and you have no idea what goes where. Now that may work for a while, but what it does is set you up for a major failure down the road. It gets even more dicey if you're going to put in a late model fuel injected engine with accessories, because you have no choice but to splice it all together to make it work. No, the only real solution is to rewire the car. Fortunately, rewiring a car is a lot easier than it used to be. You used to have to hand make a new harness, which a lot of people didn't do. That's why they kept reusing the old stuff. Now, when you get it out of the car and look at it, you wouldn't even consider putting something like that back into your car, especially when a brand new wiring harness is available with modern fuse blocks, modern wiring, everything marked, everything the right color, everything the right length, that goes in the car in just a couple of hours. This is really cheap insurance. So if you're driving around in a car that's 30 years old or older, you may want to forego the fancy wheels and paint job and invest in a wiring harness first, because it'd be a shame to see all your money go up in flames.
Now, Quick Tip, brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
When it comes to building a custom vehicle, everybody knows that those little details make all the difference in the world. And when you're doing brakes, one of those cool details is having polished brake lines running up and down a nicely painted frame. Now, there are stainless steel kits to help you do that, but these are expensive and not everybody wants to go this route. Because if you have a problem with these, you're not going to find replacements down at the Napa Auto Parts store. However, there is a way to make the regular lines look just as good as that stainless steel. Here's how to do it. Before you bend or shape your lines, take a scuff pad and brush the line. This removes not only all the dirt and the grease and residue, but it puts a cool brushed finish on the line. Next, just grab your shark hide and wipe a coat onto the line. This will seal up the metal and keep it from tarnishing or rusting. Then, once it's dry, you're ready to bend it into whatever shape that you need. And you got the look of stainless steel, you got the cost of regular steel, and you've got the durability to use it every day. This is such a simple thing to do. Now you have no reason to have ugly lines in your vehicle. If you'd like to learn more tips to make your life easier in the shop, check out the tips page on the website.
And now, Parts Bin, brought to you by Heartthrob Exhaust, where technology and craftsmanship come together.
One thing that every engine needs is motor mounts. The problem is you can buy motor mounts that'll bolt to the engine, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to allow you to bolt that engine into the chassis that you're working on. Well, Tin Man Fabrication realized this and came out with a whole set of custom motor mounts. Now check these out. You can see they're built out of heavy gauge steel, they're all TIG welded, and they have urethane bushings, so they're going to be strong enough to handle today's high horsepower engines. Now obviously this is the part that bolts to the engine. For the part that goes to your frame or chassis, you have these tabs that are extra length. You just cut them, weld them, fabricate them how they need to go into your chassis. So if you want to put a Chevy into a Ford, or a Ford into a Pontiac, or a Mopar into anything, or an LS into an import, Tin Man Fabrication has got the motor mounts that can help you do that. One of the most popular projects to be building right now is a mid-70s Chevy pickup because you can still get them fairly cheap and most parts are available to restore or hot rod them. However, one part that hasn't been easy to find on those old trucks is a new steering column. Fortunately, there's iDidit that specializes in aftermarket steering columns, and this is their new column for the 73 through 78 Chevy truck. Check this out. First of all, you can see it's chrome plated, so it's going to look really good. Second of all, it's completely wired, so it'll hook up to your original wiring or an aftermarket wiring harness, and it comes with all the relays and hardware to do that. Now up here on the business end, you have the column shift, you have the key on the column, which is very cool, you have the tilt option, you have turn signals, you got flashers, you've got everything that a modern steering column should have. So instead of trying to make your old column work or hunting something down in a junkyard, now you can go to iDidit, bolt one of these in, and drive the vehicle. If you've got a new Ford F-150 with the EcoBoost engine, you know how important it is to get a lot of airflow to that thing. And you also know that the stock air filter just doesn't cut it. Well, fortunately, Air Raid has got a system that does cut it. Check this out. It starts out with an oversized air inlet, so you're going to get plenty of fresh air coming in. It goes into a sealed box, so you don't have any leakage. Then you have an insulated lid, keeps the hot air on this side and the cool air down inside. Then, of course, the air flows into this huge filter. It filters the air, sends it out into this air intake tube. And as you can see, it's large diameter with nice smooth radiuses. You're not going to get any restriction out of that. So if you're ready to warm that Ford up, or any vehicle that still has the stock air inlet, you need to go to Air Raid because they know a little bit about airflow.
And now, what are you working on? Brought to you by Catskin. Tailor-made, custom fit, trusted choice.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Anthony Spencer from Arizona, and Anthony is a Ford guy. But his story really starts back in 1988 when he said his dad brought home a 1970 Mercury Cyclone spoiler, turned it into a hot rod, and he let Anthony drive it to high school his junior and senior years. And Anthony says that he still will not admit to any of the activities that might have taken place. Well, here's a picture of Anthony and the car, and I ask you, would you trust your daughter with that kid and that car? So now fast forward a bunch of years, and Anthony wants to reunite with his first love, which of course is a Mercury Cyclone spoiler. So he hunts one down in New Mexico and he starts restoring it with his dad. And this is where they find out just how rare those cars are and how hard they are to find parts for. But that's okay, because as you can see, they start by tearing into the body, they replace the quarter panels, they patch the floors, and they completely rework the suspension. And since big power is what Anthony grew up on, the stock 429 has been stroked to a 525 to get the horsepower and tire melting torque that Anthony remembers unleashing on Chevelles back in the day. Now, the cool thing is, this is a father and son project, and it took him 15 years to complete this thing because, you know, life happens. But it's finished now, as you can see, and father and son are now out ripping up the streets again. Anthony, thanks for sending in such a cool project. I had a chance to buy one of those a long time ago, and I missed out on it. So for you, we're gonna hook you up with the guys at Catskin. They're gonna set you up with a complete leather interior to whatever vehicle you want. All you have to do is call them up, tell them what vehicle it is, they'll send you the upholstery. Also, we're gonna set you up with one of our project planning books because you're definitely gonna need it to log everything that you've done to that Cyclone. Also, we're gonna hook you up with a couple of our Gearz t-shirts because you and your dad are definitely real gearheads. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you wanna get in on this, get your project featured on the show, you gotta go to the website, go to Gearz Nation, and fill out a profile. We pull all of our What Are You Working Ons, all of our On the Road segments right off of Gearz Nation. Also, don't forget to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that social media, because we always have something cool going on there too. All right, that takes care of it for us today. We are gonna go launch this rocket. You need to go out there and start working on something. We'll see you next time.